All right. All right. Without any further ado, we're going to turn it over to our beautiful National Sales Director, friend, teacher, Kristen Sharp. Thank you, Heidi.
Will you guys let me know if you can hear it? Because I'm not sure if I clicked the right button for sharing the sound.
Okay.
So, have you ever had a moment where something inside you just knew it's time? Not someday, not when everything feels perfect, but now. Well, hi, I'm Kristen Sharp, National Sales Director, and I've had several of those it's time moments in my life, and every single one of them changed the direction of my future. You know, I've been in Mary Kay for 19 years now, but my Mary Kay story began long before I ever ordered my own starter kit. It actually started 39 years ago when my mom made the decision to become a Mary Kay beauty consultant. At the time, I was 5 years old and my brother Scott was 2. And my mom originally joined to earn extra money so she could put me in piano and dance lessons. But not too long after she started her business, she became a single parent. And Mary Kay became our livelihood. If my mom didn't work, we didn't eat. If she didn't hold parties and appointments, we didn't have food, clothing, or a roof over our head. So she was extremely motivated to work. So when people talk about their motivation or their why, I understand it deeply. You know, my mom didn't start her Mary Kay business because it was convenient. She started because she realized it was time. Time to provide. Time to take responsibility for our future, and time to build something that gave her control. Now looking back, I know it wasn't easy. She had disappointments, she had discouragement, she had seasons where things didn't go her way, just like all of us. But I'm so grateful that I got to watch how she handled those moments, because her career didn't just provide for me and my brother, it shaped who we became. Mary Kay wasn't just my mom's job, it was our family business. And we worked with her, we helped her. And even at 5 years old, I had responsibilities. My first job was to label all the products, and I did an exceptional job. And as I got older, my responsibilities grew. And you know, we always had a goal poster hanging right next to my mom's goal poster. And we even had quarterly prizes that we were working toward right alongside her. When my mom was working for her first Mary Kay career car, I was working for a hot pink scooter, and my brother Scott was working for a Fisher-Price bubble blowing lawnmower. I'll never forget. And our first job was simple. It was to go to the babysitter and don't cry. In fact, we got paid $1 every time we went to the babysitter while my mom held a Mary Kay appointment. We tracked it in our little gold jar, and we would fill in a thermometer with every dollar. So even at a young age, I understood something important. This wasn't just a job. This is what happens when someone decides it's time to go all in. You see, our family Mary Kay business paid for traveling sports teams for me and my brother, our first cars. It allowed us to graduate college debt-free. And even though I grew up watching the success that my mom had in Mary Kay, and I was blessed to have grown up pink, like I call it, I wasn't sure that Mary Kay was for me. So after college, I went after what I thought was my dream job, to work for the New York Times bestselling author and leadership speaker, John C. Maxwell. Maybe you know him. Well, I love leadership. I grew up listening to his CDs in Mom's pink Cadillac. Yeah, I said CDs. I think before that it was tapes, like cassette tapes. But I called John's office 75 times and I got 74 no's until I finally landed a job at his office. And what I realized later is this: I didn't take the rejection personally. I understood that each no wasn't about me. It was just part of the process. And I understand now why I could respond in that way. I had already watched this before. I had watched my mom hear no in her Mary Kay career over and over again. I watched her build from the ground up, party after party, goal by goal, all the way to National Sales Director. I had seen firsthand that no wasn't the end of the story, it was just part of the process. So when I was calling John Maxwell's office and hearing no, again and again and again, I actually wasn't discouraged. I was actually conditioned to keep showing up, conditioned to stay professional, conditioned to trust that consistency eventually leads to a yes. And without even realizing it at the time, I was developing one of the most important skills I would ever use in my own Mary Kay business: the ability to keep moving forward without letting no stop you. So at 23 years old, I moved across the country from Washington State, the one by Oregon, to Atlanta, Georgia, to work for John Maxwell. I didn't know a soul. I actually found a roommate online. I bought a car over the phone, and none of those were like normal at this time, okay? I loved working for John. I learned so much, but my schedule was brutal. I traveled 5 to 6 days a week. I was rarely home. I was eating off like the dollar menu. And looking back, I'm grateful. I'm actually grateful that I got tired of staying in hotel rooms. I'm grateful that I got discouraged. I'm grateful that I was broke, living paycheck to paycheck, because discomfort has a way of pointing you to truth. It forced me to ask better questions of myself, like, what do I want my life to look like? And what really matters to me? And that's when I realized it was time. Mary Kay had everything that I was looking for, and I could finally see myself in this business. So I called my mom and I told her that I was ready to order my starter kit. I'll never forget it. There was this like complete silence on the phone. I'm like, Mom, are you there? And after a long pause, she said, well, that sounds like a great idea, honey. So on June 1st, 2006, I became a Mary Kay beauty consultant. And the very first thing my mom told me to do was to hold a perfect start. She said, book 8 parties to hold at least 5, a perfect start. She told me that skincare parties were the answer to any question I had about the business. Now, in the beginning, I was actually totally against skincare parties. And to be transparent, I actually felt like I was above them. I had just worked for a New York Times bestselling author, and I thought I was going to come into Mary Kay and find like this new and better way of doing things. Well, when I started, my mom still lived across the country from me in Washington State, a 9-hour plane ride, and there was no like virtual new consultant training. There wasn't Zoom. There wasn't like FaceTime like we have today. And she told me, Kristen, book 8 to hold 5. That was like new consultant training. And well, I wanted to prove her wrong, like any daughter, right? My plan was to do parties just long enough to show her that there was a better, more profitable, faster way to build. Well, 19 years later, oh boy, turns out, oh my gosh, Mary Kay, Ash, and Mom were right. And I figured it out in the beginning that they were right. And this brings me back to my very first party, you guys. My hostess's name was Barbara, and I was pre-profiling the guest for her party. I realized that every single woman coming had bronze skin, and clearly I do not. And I had 0 experience with bronze foundations, like no consultant training on that. So I called my mom in a panic saying, okay, Mom, what do I do? And she said, pull out all the bronze foundations and just put them on your face so you can understand the undertones. So literally I had them all slathered on my face, and I still did not understand the undertones. Like there was no CC creams, okay? This was a little bit more intense. And of course the party started and we got to the foundation section, and I looked around the room and I was like, oh my gosh, everyone is orange, like really orange. And they knew it wasn't the right color. I was frustrated. I was embarrassed. I was so uncomfortable that I didn't even do a table close. I didn't even share the opportunity. I was like, get me out of here. I just want this to be over. And they were saying, oh yeah, that's not the right color. Oh yeah, that's not right color. And then Barbara walked up to me and she said, Kristen, I want to join Mary Kay. And I said, you do? And she said, yeah. You don't even know what you're doing, and you're not even giving people the right foundation shade, and people are still buying products. Look at how much people are buying. I can totally do this, Kristen. Now, I didn't know if I should like laugh or cry in that moment, but I learned one of the most important lessons of my career that day. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to jump in. And sometimes not having it all figured out is exactly what allows someone else to see themselves doing this. Barbara ended up being on my team for over 17 years. And she taught me how to find bronze foundations. She also showed me the importance of diversifying my team. But more importantly, she taught me that finding people that are skilled in areas you are not is not a threat. It's actually key to your success. And this is exactly why this season and this Kit and Commit challenge is so perfectly timed. From the very beginning, Mary Kay Ash designed this business to be built through skincare parties. The original intention was to book 8 and hold 5 within a 2-week period. Why? Because momentum matters. When parties are closer together, confidence builds faster. Skills sharpen quicker. Results compound. So when you're watching this and saying, yes, it's time, I'm ready to go all in, I want to encourage you to think beyond just one perfect start. Doing this Kit and Commit promotion, you have the opportunity to do multiple perfect starts. Not just 1, not 2, 3, or even, gosh, you could do 4 or more now through February 15th. Yes, there's recognition. Yes, there's the opportunity to earn a call with legendary National Sales Director Emeriti Linda Tupin and Pam Shaw. But more importantly, this is how top achievers are created. Now, before I close, I want to say this clearly because I understand. When I joined Mary Kay, my mom had already booked or recruited just about every friend or family member like we had. And there wasn't like this big list like waiting for me to contact. So if you're thinking, oh, I just don't have the friends or family to book, or Kristen, I don't know where to start, I want you to hear me. You are not behind. You just have to build momentum a little differently. So here's the math. A leads are people you already have a strong relationship with, and know that A leads book at about an 80% rate. Now there's also B leads. Now these are friends of friends or referrals from A leads, and they book between a 40 to 60% rate. And then there are C leads. These are cold leads, facial box leads, random warm chats, vendor booths, like people you don't even know yet. And they book closer to a 20% rate. And with technology, that percentage can actually go down. Now, how did I figure this out? I tracked it. And a tracked number grows. So all leads are not created equal. And what I have found is that many consultants have been spending a lot of time trying to book C leads with a 20% booking rate. And only focusing on C leads can be time consuming and discouraging if you're not dealing with a large volume of leads. So understand the math. You can't expect C leads to perform like A leads without adjusting the volume. So once you understand that, the emotion comes out of it. Also know that even when you're at parties that are well coached, not all of them are going to hold. And that's not failure, that's just real life. That's why Mary Kay said, book 8 to hold 5. People reschedule, dentist appointments, hair appointments move. So the goal isn't perfection. The goal is to get good at the skincare party. So I want to encourage you to dust off your starter kit and move into action. Sit down and make your lead list, starting with A and then B and then C. And if you don't have enough, talk to your sales director about how to get more leads. Get masterful at booking from your bookings, because momentum doesn't come from waiting until you feel ready. Momentum comes from moving while you're learning. So if you've been waiting, overthinking, telling yourself you need more time, this is your moment. But more importantly, this is how top achievers are created. Looking back, the most strategic thing I ever did was fully jumping into the skincare party and committing to mastering it. Because everything I wanted from this business came from parties. Confidence, customers, team membership, directorship, cars, the million, national sales director. And the more parties I held, especially when I held them closer together, the faster I moved up the career path. Momentum doesn't come from doing one party really well. Momentum comes from doing many parties consistently. And some of you watching this today, you're standing at that same decision point. You've been thinking about the next step, the next goal, the next thing you keep circling. And if it keeps coming back to your heart, that's not random. That's clarity. And clarity is God's way of whispering, it's time. It's time. Time to decide, time to commit, time to move. It's your time, and you can do it.
Love her guts. You guys, I remember when Kristen Sharp, Connie Kitson was kind of up and coming and rising up in that, because we used to always go up to Seattle and Portland Career Conference, where she kind of the area she lived. And as Kristen mentioned, she was one of the Velocity girls. So she might have been like 15 or 16 years old. And she was on one of the buses and just bopping around, just so excited. But she had no intention ever of joining Mary Kay. Anybody else relate? And she thought she was a little too good to do parties, which I think a lot of the younger ones can relate. I started in my 20s. But what were your guys' takeaways? Who would like to share? This is my third time to watch that video. She's so cute.
I can go first.
Yeah.
I love how the whole theme for Boss Babes is now is the time. And I feel like that's just it's been everywhere around me, everywhere. Now's the time, now's the time, now's the time. It's a meditation. I hear it from you guys. I hear it from random people. Heard it on a commercial the other day. Something said now is the time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that message was for me. I also love her reminding me of her getting her children, like how her and her brother were involved in the mom's business. And like when I first started Mary Kay, I really tried to find little jobs for Jasmine and Max to do. The boys weren't really interested. The boys are supportive, but in a different way. Um, but having them help me in the office, as a way of them seeing what I do. And I haven't done that since I've gotten older. And so it kind of sparked this thing inside me where I was like, how can I help get my kids involved in my business again now, even though they're teenagers and adults, to help them see the bigger picture too? So I'm excited to kind of like brainstorm that idea. And then I love how she talked about no isn't the end of the story, it's part of the process. And that discomfort has a way of pointing you towards the truth. And I think I was just talking to Kelly about this earlier too. Like when the answer's not there, like you being us being uncomfortable in whatever it is we're doing is pointing us towards where we can be aligned. And she has a different language for things than Denise has for us, but like it's the same message. And I'm like, we keep getting it from all the different sides, and that's really cool. And then I loved what she said about being transparent. I try to be super transparent with everybody because I know what it's like to feel like you have to look like a certain way or act a certain way to be successful in this business. And it took me getting out of that to remember, like to realize that I could be successful the way that I am and with my own gifts and my own strengths. And so I loved what she said about that. And then like when we come from a perfect world or like we look perfect on social media or whatever, it makes it so other people can't they feel like they can't do it. They're like, I don't know. I like, especially with my office. Sometimes when people come over to my office and they see my space, they're like, oh, but I don't even have a space like this. I have a little tiny apartment, and it actually, even though I love my space, I love working out of it, it actually hinders me sometimes. And so there's been times where I've toyed around with going back to the kitchen table and in the dining room to take away from that. And then also this last one was what I put down here. Where is it at? I took notes because I always forget by the time it gets through. Um, oh, momentum comes from moving while learning. I think that like when I first started my business, I was so adamant that I had to learn the product first. And when I actually took a step back and like learned while I was going through the parties and learned about the product through it, they were so much more fun than going in being perfect. It goes back to that whole perfect thing. Um, and then the other thing she said, one other thing, the foundation matching. So when Celeste, I wish Celeste was on the call so that she could do this with like vouch for me here. But like she came over to have me do skincare and makeup with her. And I was like, these are the colors I've got. Like you try out what you think is gonna work because I had no idea how to color match her. And she taught me all kinds of awesome stuff. And she was like, this is the best foundation that's ever covered my skin. And she was like so excited. So I liked that we had that in common. It was funny to me.
Good stuff. So true. So true. Thank you so much for sharing, Heidi. Because a lot of times I think sometimes people look at people that have been in Mary Kay a while or the leaders and think that you've always felt how you've felt instead of really recognizing and noticing all the shifts that you've gone through. I think that's one of the beautiful parts is just watching the growth and the shifts of remembering where you were then. I was Kind of immature. I was in my 20s. Okay, what other things do you guys have?
I'll share.
Okay.
So I really loved the fact that she was talking about the fact that they had goal posters right along County Kitson. And actually, fun fact, for those that didn't know, they actually grew up close to this area, and Kristen Sharp went to Eastern, which is only about 25 minutes from where I live. So when I found that out, that was just really kind of cool to see, like, they were in this general area and did what they have done in their business. So that was really cool. But it was kind of like what you said, Heidi. It was a great reminder for me because when I first joined Mary Kay, it was Kevin and he was 8.5 years old, and I was pregnant with Joshua. It was actually when I found out that I was pregnant with Joshua, that was the deciding factor for me to join, because at the time I was working 80 hours a week as a single mom. I hardly saw Kevin. My mom actually took care of him, and I saw him on weekends. And then I find out that I'm pregnant with this new little one, and I'm like, how am I going to want to be here for my kids? How am I going to make this work? And so it was the day that I told my sister that I was pregnant that she brought me in a paper agreement. I didn't actually fill it out, but it was symbolic of, like, okay, are you finally ready? Like, you've been thinking about this for months, right? And so that's something, like, when I moved into DIQ and became a director the first time, Joshua was just a baby and Kevin was a preteen, and that's what we did. He helped me in my business. He had a goal poster as well. We had rewards. Like, there was this huge date that we got to go on when I became a director, because obviously it meant leaving them in order to accomplish my goal, right? And so I just love that she shared that, because it was a great reminder in the sense that I have Joshua now. He's very, very goal oriented, and I haven't done that for a really long time. And so it was a great reminder, especially as we're gearing up to move back into DIQ and do directorship and everything. It takes a lot of intentionality and a lot of focus in this area. And so having him do goals right alongside me, I think, could be really, really helpful so that he doesn't really feel like he's missing out, but he has something to look forward to. And I love the thought, I never knew this before, but I love the thought of doing quarterly awards. I thought that that was so cool for the kids. So that was just really helpful for me. The other thing that I really loved is that when she said no is not the end of the story. It's part of the process and the journey. I think so many of us, we can really get hung up on the no, specifically if it's a no from friends or family. It's hard not to get hurt by that or take it personally. So I love that she shared her story of grit and where she learned not to allow the no's to phase her and to just remember. And how many, let's be super real. For those of us that have been in Mary Kay a hot minute, how many have said no to us? And it eventually turns into a yes, and they either become one of our best customers or they join our team, right? And so unless, I always say, unless they say, I don't want to have anything to do with you or Mary Kay, when can I follow up and revisit this with you, either for a booking or for the interest or whatever? And so I love that she said that. And then honestly, I was so excited when she broke down the percentage and the numbers of the different types of leads. I think that that is so incredibly important for us to know and understand, because how many of us have gotten super discouraged when we've gone out warm chatting or we've done a booth and we don't seem to have a really great result, essentially. And so I think that understanding the difference between the leads is so incredibly important. I think especially for the younger or newer business owners or those who haven't done a whole lot. Like, it's not personal, it's business and it's numbers. And so, just like with anything, to track and understand your numbers. And I love that she said, booking from your bookings, that's really where some good momentum is going to happen. And I know that Kelly Moore and I have been doing that. And it's honestly made things so much easier, and it's taken so much time, effort, energy, and work out of what it is that I'm doing. So anyways, I love Kristen Sharp. She just has a soft spot in my heart. She was one of my mentors when I was a director before. She's so incredibly go-give, and I'm just so excited that we got to hear from her tonight. And I'm really, really excited for this momentum that March is going to have. And just the way that things are going to explode, which, by the way, Denise, my mind is blown that your unit recruited 80 people in 1 month. I was thinking like 45.
No, we had like 84, I think.
It's crazy
And, you know,
amazing.
granted, a lot of them never placed an order.
Right.
But, you know, and that, you guys, that was when it was 50%, not $10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I loved it. You know, you kind of stated this, and that it goes back to the $100 starter kit, right? So when I joined, it was a $100 starter kit. Plus, we paid for our website, which was like $35 or $40. Plus, we paid for ProPay, which was like $35 or $40, right? And so the fact that everything is included with that $100 kit, which yes, $10 is amazing. I would also promote the $100 kit. I think there's so much value there. But yeah, I'm super excited. I've got a list of probably 15 people. And I'm right there with you, Denise. I'm gonna gold medal this month. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And you guys, they do still have that extra additional 15 days to decide whether or not they want the full kit. So that's another plus for that. Anybody else? I wrote down a few takeaways because I've listened to it a few times now, and I want to hit some things, but I really want to hear from all of you. Does anybody else have anything to share? Did you get a little aha moment? And one of the things I want you to think about is like, what were your reasons for joining? And how, you know, is that still the same? Have they changed? Because sometimes people, they might be at one place in their life that they're looking at Mary Kay about, and then their situation changes and they find themselves retired or out of a job or needing a social circle or whatever. So take that into consideration as well when you're thinking about who you want on your team. Anybody else? I was blown away that and I remember hearing this story because John Maxwell's it was him, Bill Cantrell, and Susie Orman are the only people Mary Kay Cosmetics has ever brought in outside of our national sales directors or outside of our company to speak to us at leadership conference. John Maxwell was one of them. And I remember her, you know, that was just her goal. She wanted to go work for him in Atlanta. And she wasn't interested in joining Mary Kay, but I've heard her say multiple times she was barely making enough money to live off. And after a while, she realized that her mom had afforded a certain lifestyle for her. She called 74 times, and the 75th time she finally got a job there, not necessarily the one that she wanted. And you know, she said, so many of us are conditioned to stop before we get the yes. So condition yourself not to stop before you get the yes. And no, I always learned in Mary Kay, is not now. No doesn't mean forever. And I loved how she shared also how, you know, there's got to be a better way, you know, and we sometimes want to go in and reinvent the wheel. And nowadays it is beautiful because we can work it so many different ways, Mary Kay. However, the good old fashioned skincare party is the fastest way to work full circle, which is to book and then also to add team members and to book from those. So, and of course, selling product. You know, when you think about how much people are buying at parties, back when I started, you guys, it was an average of $150 for a party. The average was about 4 people. I would say now that's closer to 400 to 500 now when you have a party of 4 to 5 people. So, you know, the skincare party is still where it's at. And again, you don't have to have all the answers. You know, you learn as you go and you get paid very well, you know, just for learning as you go. So we have some really, really awesome more ones to look forward to this next few weeks. I think we have 3 more weeks, is it, at Boss Babes? Let's see, was this week 3 or 4? Because I'm doing the director one too. We do a call Monday morning and we do a call Tuesday morning. And by the way, the hotline was really, really great. Amber talked a lot about if you haven't listened to the hotline today, go listen to the hotline. Okay. All right. Well, if anybody doesn't have anything more, get those lists together. Let's party. Let's go share, and let's go get a medal. All right, everybody?
Okay.
Everybody feel better. Stay healthy. Have a wonderful,
week.
Fantastic week. We'll see you at Teavers on Friday night. We'll put a Voxer thing out about the brunch.
Okay.
Good night.
Oh, and details for Friday night, please. Thanks.
Oh, we're meeting at Zoom. Oh, did we not talk about it? We're meeting at Kiln, Jennifer, at 6
Okay.
o'clock, and everybody just is bringing their kind of a favorite snack to share or whatever you want.
Okay.
That's what we've
All right. I'll get there as soon as I can.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, between 6 and 6:30. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Mhm.